Hello and welcome to Podium Entertainment's launch party for Book 5 in the Convergence series, Desperate Measures. I'm your host, J.R. Carrel, and with me today is a man who needs no introduction, but I'm going to give him one anyway. He is the best-selling author of one of the greatest science fiction book series of all time, X-Force. But here today with me is one of the freshest urban fantasies going right now, Convergence. Craig Alanson, welcome.
Thank you. And tonight's adult beverage is bourbon and ginger.
And had I known, this might have been an Irish coffee, but it's just a
okay. Yes.
But Craig, man, I am so glad to finally get to talk with you. I've been following you for years and years. I always like to start these off with a couple questions that get people to know the authors a little bit better. So my first question is, who got you into reading?
My parents. My parents are both big readers. And my father and I, you know the Russell Crowe movie, Master and Commander?
100%.
So my father and I loved that Patrick O'Brien series called Aubrey Maturin about the British Navy in the Napoleonic Wars. So I'd read those books at the same time as my father and then discuss it with him. My mother liked to read like mysteries. So the Alphabet series by Sue Grafton, A is for Alibi and all that.
Oh, okay, yeah.
My mother and I would read those together. I mean, that was much more recently, but I mean, as a kid, I'd go to the library and I'd come home with like 5 books, and I'd come back the next week and get 5 more. I remember I read Lord of the Rings when I was like 7 or 8 years old. And it was the point where I had to go like look up words in the dictionary that I didn't know them yet.
I bet.
I didn't realize that The Hobbit was before The Lord of the Rings. And then I found that out and like, dude, it wouldn't be so much easier to read that book.
100%. I was the same way. When I was like, The Hobbit's before this? It's for kids? Why wasn't I?
Yeah, I did not know. And then I read Dune when I was about 10, I think. I remember I left the paperback book out in the backyard, and it rained that night, and the book swelled up like this, and the pages yeah.
So was Lord of the Rings the first sci-fi or fantasy book that you chose to pick up yourself and not given to you?
I think it was given to me by a relative who like had found it on a shelf or something and said, you might like this. And they gave me the book, The Two Towers. And I realized right away, this is the second one of the series. So I went to the library and got it, The Fellowship of the Ring, and then read the series. But yeah, I forget who, my uncle maybe, I forget, but somebody, turned me onto it, and then been a reader ever since. And now, although right now I do listen to audio more than I read because it's just so easy when I'm running or working out or whatever, mowing the lawn.
Yeah, 100%. I do probably 80% audio now because the audiobooks are just getting so good nowadays. Like if I don't know how many of people who are watching remember they used to come in like tapes, cassette tapes, and it was a big old like one book would be in like a whole thing, and they weren't the best quality. And now like R.C. Bray, it just for you and especially the style that you write in is just magnificent.
Thank you.
Now, who was the first person that told you had talent for writing? Like, who's the one that like encouraged you, like, hey, you should keep trying this. This is something for you.
Nobody.
You just did it. You're just like, I can do this.
No. What happened was we were going on vacation, my wife and I, to, I don't know, Antigua, Barbados, someplace in the Caribbean. This is when we lived in Virginia, and getting out of there in the winter was great. But we're in the airport waiting for the plane, and she says, how many books did you bring to read? This is before Kindle. So she says, well, I've got this book. She says, no. You're going to finish that book the first day, and then you're going to drive me crazy for 6 days. I want to sit on the beach with a cold drink and read and just relax. So go to the bookstore. And I went to the bookstore and I got 3 books. And one of them was one by one of my favorite sci-fi authors. And I start reading and I'm like, wow, this book is not the best. This book is terrible. And then, oh my God, this book has got to get better. It got worse. It was the worst book I ever finished.
Wow.
And we're sitting on the beach. I finished it and I threw it over my shoulder in the bushes and said, if that can get published, I can write a book. So my wife said, yes, dear. Why don't you write a book? So I wrote, the first book I finished was Aces, my YA sci-fi about kids and pirates. And then I wrote the first book of Ascendant. And then I wrote Columbus Day and could not get any traction on it. No publisher was interested, no editor. Agents turned me down. I mean, they said Columbus Day, it was too different. So there wasn't an audience for it. And it was too long and it was never going to be a success, et cetera. And I said, well, wait a minute. Okay. John Scalzi has been very successful with his Old Man's War series, which is a military sci-fi with humor. And up until John published that book, military sci-fi did not have humor. It had blood and guts, doomed mercenaries on a desperate mission.
Yeah,
super hardcore. And I'm like, there's got to be an audience for this. And it turns out there was.
There, absolutely.
I got a rejection letter like September or October of 2015. And I'm like, honey, I got another letter here. And she's like, why don't you just self-publish? And I'm like, I hadn't thought about that. So it took me from October to January of 2016, October 15, January 16, to establish an account, figure out what this whole Kindle thing was, how to format it, etc. And I uploaded Aces, Ascendant, and Columbus Day on the same day, January 11th,
wow.
16. And I thought, if any of these books sells at all, it's going to be Ascendant. It's a fantasy trilogy type thing. Columbus Day took off, and I was like, okay, I better write the next one. So I took off a week in March, and for 9 days, I did nothing but write like 5,000 words a day, and then got the second book, Spec Ops, out beginning of June. And that
you burned it up. You were going.
And my wife and I, when the second book was published, my wife and I were in the Virgin Islands, and we came back. And by the middle of July, I told my wife, honey, I can either write the next book, Paradise, or it's going to take me a year and my audience will forget about me, because the job, I had a real job back then, and they wanted to give me this big assignment, which would have been a lot of traveling, a lot more hours. And I'm like, I'm not going to have time to write anything. So we got to decide. And basically, my grandmother had died and a family friend had passed away. And I'm like, you know what? Life's too short. Quit my job, never look back.
Wow. Yeah, and that is bold.
I thought that after I quit my job, I had a good job, benefits and everything. I thought for sure I was going to wake up, having a heart attack, like, oh my God, I had a dream where I had to go beg for my old job back. The opposite. I've had dreams where I'm at my old job and they're like, you got to do this. I'm like, dude, I don't have time for this. I got to go write books. I quit. I'm gone. Here's my badge. I'm out of here.
Did it feel like a weight was just kind of lifted off of you?
Yeah. It was amazing. It was just like, but before I quit my job, because I'm analytical, I gave my wife a spreadsheet with a 3-year plan of, I'm going to publish this book on this day, and here's the revenue projections, basically the minimum number of books I need to sell in order to match the salary plus benefits that I had at my real job. Because, you got to pay for all your own health care. And we've blown that out of the water. It's like, you got to have a plan like that. And my wife had already retired, so she was on my health, on my health insurance.
Yeah.
So I know a lot of writers, especially young writers, are like, I'm considering, going full time. And I'm like, do you have a spouse who has health insurance?
Yeah.
Don't. It's going to eat up all of the proceeds from your first book is just going to be your private health insurance. I mean, people like in the UK say, well, it's not an issue for them because it's for their taxes or something. But yeah, it's like, it's so tough. You to go, full time. You pretty much got to have a spouse that has health insurance.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, you definitely. I mean, and it sounded like you had it like down to a science. You're like this, and this, and this, and I think a lot of people don't think about it like that. They're kind of just like, okay, well, the book's selling, so if I can just dial it in, I'll be okay. And then they don't think of all the like the health insurance in the back end, and stuff. But so you were rolling with X-Force. I mean, one of the most popular science fiction books going right now. Where did Convergence come from?
So I'm a big fan of Dresden Files, and I loved your interview with Jim Butcher. I met Jim Butcher. I did a panel with him at Dragon Con like 2 years ago, I think. Super nice guy, very knowledgeable about writing, just super guy. I love his books, and I'm like, I want to write it's urban fantasy, right? But publishers tell me the only person who writes in the urban fantasy category now is Jim Butcher. The rest of the stuff, like what I write, is considered contemporary fantasy. So whatever. I guess it's urban because it's set in Chicago, maybe. But like, the Suki Stackhouse books.
Yep.
Okay, those were originally tagged as urban fantasy, but she lives in the rural South, so that's not.
Now they're paranormal.
Yeah, paranormal.
Yeah.
But I wanted to write a fantasy series where it was almost like magic is the physics of the netherworld. So it's not just like you can make up whatever rules you want. I take like a Brandon Sanderson approach to it. Magic has rules. You have to stick to those rules. And what happens if you don't know the rules? And that's where I started from with Kaz was magic in our world. There used to be the gods, the Greek gods, the Celtic gods, you name it, were real. And then the two worlds drew apart and the gods went away. And now it's coming back and Kaz is the only wizard. And I'm like, yeah, I can work with that because I've got a wizard who doesn't know how to use magic because nobody's there to tell them. And I wanted to take that almost like a sci-fi approach to fantasy. But I also wanted to be funny. I mean, Jim Butcher's books are funny. He's got, Bob the Talking Skull. And just Harry's overall attitude. Yeah.
Never. Yeah. I love you even, you'll throw some of these references in. And I'm just wondering, I'm like, are these like the friends of yours, or are they just homages to great other
homages? Like I mentioned, that Mr. Boots and Convergence is not Princess Donut.
It's not Princess Donut.
Most people will get, okay, they knew who Princess Donut is. So it's not just what the hell is that? And the people who were like, who the hell's Princess Donut? Maybe they become fans of Dragon Carrel like I am. So, hey, it's a shout out. I met Matt Dinneman at that same Dragon Con at like a pre-Dragon Con party. But I don't know the guy. It's like I don't know Jim Butcher. I did a panel with John Scalzi. I don't know John. I'm friends with some writers like Michael Mamet and Nicholas Sansbury Smith, Rhett Bruno. But yeah, I'm not friends with the big writers. So. But John Scalzi is going to be here. I live in Vermont. He's going to be here for Green Mountain Book Festival, like the 18th, I think, of October. He's like the headliner, and I got invited to speak on a panel. I don't know with him or not, but yeah, that's going to be.
Cool. Craig, don't sell yourself short, man, because I have done plenty of videos about Brandon Sanderson and some of these big names, and those videos, but almost every video that I do that has to do with you or X-Force just to the moon.
Wow, cool.
Yeah. But how did you and Podium hook up? That is one thing I've always wondered.
Okay, so I published the 3 books January 11th, 2016. And at the time, I hoped I could make enough money to pay back for the $35 I spent for each one of the 3 covers. And the first month, we got a check for $409.10. And I'm like, wow, I can buy new tires for my car.
Woo!
Yeah, woohoo, right? The next month, it was $3,500.
Wow.
And then it was $8,000. And by March, I was getting emails from people, hey, we'd love to record an audio version of your book. Give us $10,000 up front or something. And I'm like, yeah, right. Spam folder, right? And I got an email from Podium, and they're like, we want to record an audiobook. And I almost dragged to the spam folder. I'm like, I'll read it. What the hell? And then I see no money up front. They're going to do a revenue share, and they're going to get R.C. Bray to do it. I'm like, oh my God, the guy who did The Martian, he could do my audiobook. And I thought they were BSing me, right? But I'm like, do you actually even know R.C. Bray? I was like, yeah, he records all kinds of books for us. So I went on and did some research, and I'm like, these guys are legit. So, but then the audiobook of Columbus Day didn't come out until December of 17, because it's just, December of 16, it took that long for, I had to make revisions to the text, and then Bob had to get it on his calendar because he was already busy, and it went in there. And then it just took off. I mean, Columbus Day got nominated for Audiobook of the Year.
Yeah, didn't it? Yeah.
And it was odd because it wasn't nominated in the sci-fi audiobook category. Like, what? And then what won that year was, this is going to shock you. It's a book called Lincoln in the Bardo. It's about the ghost of Lincoln talking about, I don't know, some celeb bullshit. But they had like 167 Hollywood celebrities recording it, doing different voices.
Oh, okay.
Like, wow, the one that had 167 A-list celebrities, lobbying for it won.
Who would have thought?
It happens.
Well, and one thing within the Convergence series that I was wondered, because as I guess you guys didn't know, but we talked about backstage.
Yeah.
I live in the area which all the first 3 books all take place.
Yeah.
Right. So why Mounds? What fascinated you about Mounds?
So I wanted Kaz to be an American character. And, in the first book, he's almost sort of like a Jack Reacher type character, a loner.
Yeah.
He can't make friends because his friends get killed and all this. But then gradually he, opens himself up. But I wanted to be in America. And I'm like, the whole thing about the Anazi, Pueblo Indians has been done before. And I'm like, I have these Indian mounds that, are still unexplained at this point. I mean, I'm going to go with that, as that's where the gods of the Indians, American Indians, that's where they came down. And therefore the Indians built these mounds as worship centers, or, as a phone booth to talking to their God. And I'm like, it's got to be that. And I have to say, I've been to the Finger Lakes, where part of Dragon Slayer takes place. I have not been to Ohio. So I was telling JR, the sawmill that blew up, and the power stations that blow up, and all these things that happen, parking lots where they're swapping cars and all that. It's all Google Earth. I'm like, oh, there's a parking lot there next to this university. That's where they're going to swap cars. And then they got to take a right across this bridge, and Google Earth.
Oh, man. Maybe it's just because I know these areas, but I was enthralled. I was like, they're going to Logan. They're in, and hearing you, and of course RC was doing the voice, and he's like, I don't know if it's Lima or Lima, Ohio.
Yeah.
I don't know. They said, and I was like, that's Lima. I love it.
Like here in Vermont, there's a town. And in North Carolina, it'd be pronounced Charlotte. In Vermont, it's pronounced Charlotte.
Whoa, that is
Lima, like you've got Cairo in Egypt, Carrel, I think, is in Illinois, and then Caro is some other place. It's whatever local pronunciation it has.
Yeah. I mean, yeah. So I was just binging these because I was like, I can see it. I can see it. I know what the back. I mean, buildings and stuff. Wasn't, but I'm like, I know what all these cities look like. And I used to, when I was in school, like there was something weird in Circleville. We never ever got snow days, right? Ever through I think one snow day in 10 years that while I was in school. And I used to tell people, I was like, watch the radar, because Circleville was built within a giant circular earthworks. That's where it's got its name from. And storms would hit us and just break apart. And you could see it and I used to call it the Circleville vortex.
Yes.
And I'm like,
I gotta write that down. Yes.
I'm like, guys, I'm telling you, watch it. It is a real thing. And since I've moved, I'm still close, but I've moved outside of Circleville, and I'm like, now we get all the worst. I'm in Williamsport, and now we're getting all the stuff because we don't have the vortex protecting us. But I just love that. I was telling all my friends, I'm like, you guys got to read this book. It's right down the road, Yeah.
So the action shifts to France in the fourth book. And a woman who's one of my beta reader editors, proofreaders, she was like, well, wait a minute. You talked about, the guys are going to go get tacos in France. You can't get tacos in France. I called my friend who lives in so-and-so. And I'm like, okay, well, I was in France last year and I had tacos. So,
they're there.
Yeah, they're there. Kentucky Fried Chicken is there. Burger King is there.
Yes. Not the quarter pounder. What is it? The Royale with cheese.
The Royale with cheese. Yes.
But like going through the book, one of the things I think you are so good at when it comes to this urban fantasy and wizard and magic is your power creep with Kaz. Now, even great writers would have pushed his power way further than you have it now. Like they wouldn't have been able to hold themselves back. They're like, why am I? But like the pacing is amazing. Is that something that you purposely, you're like, I want to make this pacing this way? Yeah.
So Convergence is going to be an 8-book series. I've written the last chapter, so I know exactly where we're going and which characters take which twists and turns. And it's going to be Kaz can do this in this book, and he gets this ability here, but then there's a problem because you can't really, if you use that, it creates another problem. And it's different than a lot of fantasies I've read where, there was no magic. Magic is coming back, but there's no instruction manual. And Kaz is just winging it with nobody to tell him. So he's going to find out, spoiler alert, in the future, some of the ways he uses magic is not safe. It's not, there's easier ways to do it. But yeah, for right now, the guy is doing the best he can.
Well, yeah. And I love and I'm not sure that this is the first time it's ever been done where it's like, oh, there's only one wizard, but I think only you could do this, because one thing I've done lists of like what I think certain authors are the best at. And I always say you are the best dialogue writer I have ever seen. Right.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah. And I think that ability has made it to where people aren't like, oh, why isn't Kaz getting more powerful? Because at least me, I enjoy all the conversations that you lay out. I mean, I could just sit there and we could have a whole book of just dialogue, and I could just sit back and listen to Duke and Mr. Boots and Kaz and then just rip Kaz because he doesn't know what he's doing. And that's the best part about this. It's not just that he's the only wizard, because a lot of people have probably done, the lone wizard, but he's already super powerful. Like there's some other urban fantasies that are kind of like that I like, but I love the aspect of Kaz says, I don't know how many times you write in these books, like, I have no idea what I'm doing. Like, I just love that. The wizard who doesn't know. That is very rare.
Thank you. Yeah, I write the kind of books that I want to read. So I don't write for an audience. I don't do focus groups or whatever. I write the stuff I want to read. I am extremely lucky, and I work my ass off, but I'm extremely lucky that there's an audience out there for the kind of books I want to write. Because if I was writing the same books and nobody liked them, I'd still be writing them, but I'd have a real job at the same time. So thank you for that.
Yeah, I mean, just amazing. And I mean, I love how, I guess this is one thing when authors do multiple genres. I always like to ask, I know what it would be for me because I couldn't do it, but what is harder, sci-fi or fantasy?
Fantasy.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Why would you say fantasy?
Well, sci-fi, I've got boundaries, the laws of physics. And I can bend them and make up, quantum, whatever it is. But I've got some rules there. Fantasy, it's almost like going to the Cheesecake Factory where you've got a menu this thick. It's like, how the hell do I pick from this, right?
True.
Fantasy, you can do anything you want. So you really have to force yourself, like Brandon Sanderson says, magic has rules. There needs to be a magic system that is internally consistent. And I need to figure out what those rules are. And they're kind of evolving in the book because Kaz find out more about magic. But it's like, I need to make up all these rules and then figure out how they work and then stick to it. And in book 3, there was a part where I'm like, oh, I wish I hadn't written this in book 1 because it would be so much easier to do it. But I had to have Kaz work around it because I'm like, I'm not going to change the rules in the third book. The rules are what they are. So
that definitely makes more sense now because sometimes having rules actually makes you write better because it's like, okay, I got to keep within these boundaries or people are going to call me out. When it's like, like you said, in fantasy, it's like, well, I could just cherry pick things if I wanted, but then eventually people like, you're not following any of your own rules and stuff like that. So that makes sense. But I've always thought to myself, especially after reading your books, I'm like, I'm not smart enough for sci-fi. I mean, like just like you said, quantum this and exchanging and the cores and all this. I'm like, I would just be like, I mean, I'm already, whenever I do my research, I'm on the internet all the time too, but I'd be on it even more trying to, keep up with people who write it as well as you do.
Yeah. So I wrote Convergence. It took me like a year and a half in between X-Force books because I was like, I don't know how to write, urban fantasy. And I had to restrain myself to not just make up all kinds of rules. But like in X-Force, I planned to end it with book 15, and then I have The Outsider. My wife gave me permission to write The Outsider thing. And it was going to end with book 19, right? And I was reading on my phone one day, I don't know where the hell I was, gym or something like that. And I'm like, wow, that's really cool. It's a science article. And I'm like, I need to work that into the book. So I went back and I started rewriting the outline for book 19. And I'm like, I cannot fit that story arc in book 19. There needs to be a book 20. So book 20.
There needs to be as many as you want to write.
Well, book 20 is the end. And then I'm going to write a prequel about Scarandum. 3 novellas in one book about how he became the sketchy beetle we all know and love. So,
I can't wait.
And then like the Convergence is going to be 8-book series. So,
Also, all right, so I've made it over the hump then.
Yes. Yeah. Oh, that's a good point. Yeah. This is book 5. Yeah. I've got an outline. I know what's going to happen in each book. So, yeah.
All right. Well, I think we're going to pull up a Q&A here momentarily.
All right.
Any questions you guys may have for Craig about Convergence or writing or whatnot, don't be afraid to throw them up there.
Oh, wow. This is a good one.
All right. What inspired the fusion of gritty urban realism with ancient mystical lore, and was Convergence with neither metaphor for anything in other world?
Okay, last question, no metaphor. It's just something I made up. I wanted to have a reason why the old gods were real and really were on Earth and really affected things, and why there were werewolves and dragons and monsters in our world. They're legends now, but they were real back then. But then they're not here now. Okay, well, then how's the fantasy come in? Well, it's because the magic is coming back. So that's what inspired, the ancient lore. Was all that knowledge has been lost. Kaz needs to figure out, who stopped the first convergence, if anybody did. How did it happen, and how can you do it again? And he's doing it with like zero information.
Yeah, he's just making it up on the fly.
Yeah.
With his ragtag group of amazing sidekicks.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, and like you were talking about the gods, I love the way that you have, like, no spoilers or anything, but just how you are limiting, how you figured out a good way of limiting the gods without it being, like goofy or something. It works.
Yeah, the gods have rules they have to adhere to, and they have limitations on their powers, although their powers are godlike. So, yeah.
When writing, how do you keep storylines on track? Is it written in chunks or filled in, or do you wing it? Are you a pantser or are you a plotter? I guess.
Writers get this question at conventions a lot, or in seminars, and like, are you a pantser or a plotter? I think like 99% of writers, I'm a blend of both. I start out with an outline, an idea. I know how the book starts. I know how it ends. I got to fill in the middle. I got some cool scenes I want to write. And then as I go along, I'm like, it didn't quite work. Ooh, I got a better idea, and I'll change this. I almost never change the ending of a book. I might change how it got to that very ending, because I used to write software, and I tend to think of a book series like software code. So you have a module that has an input, and then a miracle happens, and you have an output, right? Okay. And the miracle happens is all the writing part. But I think of my books that way. The input is the strategic situation at the end of the previous book. And the output is what I want the situation to be at the end of this book to get the action going in the book beyond that. So, I mean, I have a spreadsheet, and I outlined all 15 X-Force books, and now I'm going to do 20. But for each one of them, I had started off with just the spreadsheet, one line for each book. What was the crisis, and how are they going to solve it, and how does it lead to the next book? And then from there, as I get closer to writing it, I start filling in things. And then I start adding, okay, well, I'm going to foreshadow this in book 8 that comes to fruition in book 11. As you mentioned, I foreshadow a lot. But the only way to do that is to think ahead. So my plotting of the overall story arc of a book is totally plotting. But getting there, the characters take me on different journeys. And then I'll have, different ideas. So, yeah.
Well, yeah. And I think like we were talking about earlier with how well your dialogue is, I feel like it seems like you're having fun with this dialogue. So I could see you kind of getting just lost in like, man, this was a long conversation I had with myself in this book. Yeah.
My wife knows, like, I'm upstairs writing, and she hears me like laughing to myself, that he's having a good day writing. So
yeah. Oh yeah. Your humor is second to none.
Thank you.
Like, I mean, there are books that are supposed to be funny. Like, I'm not going to name any names because, but there are, and they're like, oh, read this book. It's so hilarious. And I'll read it. I'm just like, it's kind of dry, but then I'll read your, and I'm like, Kaz and like Kaz, Duke, and Boots. Like whenever those three are in a scene together, you know it's going to be hilarious.
Yeah.
You know,
Duke is like Skippy in that they are both the fish out of water. So Skippy is this ancient, super powerful being who's trying to deal with filthy monkeys and doesn't quite understand how meat sacks work. And Duke is a dog. And there have been talking dogs in fantasy before, but they were intelligent dogs. They could use magic. They could do this and that. Duke is just a dog. And I have so much fun writing that because we have 3 dogs. And like at least once a week, they do something that inspires something Duke's going to do because I saw how the dogs do. And it's just, I have so much fun with that. And you know, people were like, oh, well, you know, Azib is the Skippy character. I'm like, no, Azib doesn't have any substantial powers. He's an arrogant jerk.
That's true.
He can't, you know, like can't warp space time and this sort of thing. Yeah, there's no Skippy in the Convergence book. So I split the humor between, you know, the dog and the cat and the clueless Egyptian knight who was, you know, we must do this and that. Yeah. And then, you know, the homicidal vacuum cleaner possessed by a demon. So, yeah.
Yeah. You know what? I like I was saying earlier, I was also reading Dungeon Crawler Carl, and I thought stuff couldn't get any weirder than what I was reading in that until you came up with the vacuum cleaner. And I'm like, what am I reading and when can I get more of it? Because that was hilarious.
I love Matt Dinniman's writing because he almost always takes you in a place that you didn't expect Carl to go. Where, you know, I thought Carl's going to go in and smash this or do so-and-so, but Carl had this whole idea in the background, and that's how it wraps up the book. I'm like, brilliant. That's good writing because I didn't see it coming.
Yeah, so they want to know, where do you get all your inspiration? I know you just said your dogs are kind of some inspiration for Duke. So
yeah.
Do you have inspirations for some of these other beloved characters?
I mean, I'll always like, I observe things and I'll make a wry comment to my wife and it's like, how the hell did you think of that? And I've always been like them. I think in high school, I was like the jokester, right?
Yeah.
And then in my career, I was always the funny guy in the office, and now I make a living at it, which is great. But you know, I've always been the funny guy around. I don't know why. I don't do stand-up comedy or anything like that, and I could not do like improv. I mean, it takes me. There are times when an idea pops in my head and I go right with it, but other times I have to figure my way through it, and it's like, you know, it's like at a party where you want to make a smart remark and you think about it.
You think about it 10 minutes after. You're like, man,
that's what I should have said. Yeah, but the gambling addicted Beatles, they first appeared in one of I think the first Mavericks book, the spinoff book for X-Force, and they were kind of a throwaway character. Because I thought, look, this is something I think is funny. I'm going to write it. And I thought people would be like, that's okay. And people love it. I'm like, oh, thank you, because I want to write more about these characters.
One of the best.
Fandom was not planned to be a major character in the books. So, yeah. I mean, the first time you meet Scarandum is when he and Kinsta are interviewing, I think, Theranin, like in the brig of a ship where there's some like prisoners, and they're like, what happened to him? He says, well, they said it was a boating accident on a starship. Like, what happened to this guy? He says he committed suicide, and Scranton's like, 3-shot revolver and there's 7 bullets in it. He reloaded. Like, dude, I don't care. Write the report. Done. Yeah. So I had so much fun with that. And I'm like, I'm so glad that people really responded to it. And I mean, the Giraffe are a society where criminal syndicates are listed on the stock exchange. They have IPOs.
I love that you call it the ethics and compliance. And I'm just like, No, that's the best name anybody could have ever came up with for that organization.
Oh, I have gotten so many nasty emails from people who actually work in like ethics offices.
No,
you are not, you're making fun of us, and you're not, okay, you're totally missing the point.
Yeah, that's not the point of it.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. But yeah, I mean, your character, and this is one thing when I got to talk with Jim Butcher, he said a lot of young writers or people who are just getting into writing are afraid to go over the top. And when I first started, I agree. I'm like, you don't want to be that person, but when you have the skills that you do, you can not be afraid to write over the top because you write it so well, and it just flows and makes sense. Like with Scarandum, like I know you were talking about, that's going to be somebody that you're going to be writing about, and just one of my favorite, like in this last X-Force book, just simply one of the best performances you've used him at. Yeah,
because you got to really see him.
Yes. Yeah. You can see him like when he's mad. Like,
him protecting Kinsta and him not going off and doing sketchy things with spaceships and holograms. It's, look, you and me, mano a mano, back down. And but I still have a lot of fun with that character. They're both in book 19, and Kinsta's doing things that he is not comfortable doing. But
mention that someone may be helping him from the nether. And
so that's what we call foreshadowing. Somebody may be helping somebody the other side also. So be careful what you wish for. Yeah.
Oh man. Yeah. And I love the dynamics of we'll say Kaz's backstory and how certain things are coming to light a little bit at a time. And I like that you did an info dump on us in the first 2 books. Like, we're still in book 5, still learning about Kaz's backstory. And I just love that. I mean, it makes for, I think that's what makes TV shows great, is when you can get this far into it. Like I said, your pacing is second to none in this series. I mean, like I haven't felt like dragging. Like, people be like, oh yeah, some of these books, like none of these are a slog. You drop just enough new information on us to keep it fresh throughout the book. I mean, I don't know if that's something that you are consciously aware of, or if it just happens to be the way you write.
That's deliberate. Yeah. You can't, I mean, you have to keep track of that, or it's not going to make any sense in the book. And in book 5, the beta readers I had who were reading it were like, oh my God, I did not see that coming. And then later, like, oh my God, I didn't see that coming either. So yeah, it's like I talked to other writers, and I'm like, a book needs to have at least one moment.
Yes, I agree.
It's got to have a moment that it says, I am inevitable and I am Iron Man. It's like, yes. Or like, Captain America catches Thor's hammer. It's like, yeah.
Yes.
You've got to have that. And there are some writers I know who like pull back from that.
Yes.
Like, life isn't like that. I'm like, I know life isn't like that. That's why you read books.
Oh, man. Thank you, Craig.
Yeah.
Yes. And here's the thing. I always say, whenever I get people that'll be like, oh, I read your book, I had so much fun. And I'm like, I would rather have people tell me that it was fun reading the book than to be like, oh, your prose were the most beautiful thing I've ever heard. Oh, your writing is magnificent. I'm like, I want to know if you had fun. Did I take you out of this mundane world that you're in for a few hours a day? I mean, and I think you personified that. Just take us you're not afraid to take chances, to crack jokes when to do that, oh yeah, moment. Like, and if people are watching this and they just went out and got book 5, which you all should, yes. Book 5 is the best. You're still ascending. It hasn't. Don't worry, anybody. If you're like, oh, is it going to plateau? No. Some of the most heartfelt moments are in book 5.
And don't worry, book 5 does not end on a cliffhanger.
Well, yeah.
So there's a show on now, and it's based on a book series by Martha Wells. It's called Murderbot. It's on Apple TV, and it's like each episode is like 25 to 30 minutes long, and each episode ends in a cliffhanger because then you go into the next one. And they actually have cliffhangers at the end of each act in each show, but each episode ends on a cliffhanger because that gets you to like, okay, I was going to go to bed, but now I'm going to stream the next one. So I'm going to binge the next one. But that's, yeah.
Yeah, I haven't.
It did not end on cliffhangers, but they're rare.
Yeah, I mean, a lot. Yeah, I would say most of my books probably do end on cliffhangers, but they end on a big note.
Yes.
And like, well, we'll put Stephen King out there because he's bigger than everybody, so nothing's gonna make him mad, right? Yeah. So Stephen King has been said that he doesn't care about the end. He's just like, it's about the journey, and I'm like, well, yeah, I want a good journey, but give us a good ending too. Yeah. Like, give us an impactful ending that like gets you out of your seat when especially if you're listening to it. Like, I'm out here and I'm just like, at the end of book 5, I was being audible. I'm like, hopefully nobody heard me because I'm just like, what is no? Like, but so okay, good. We got another one in here.
No, I did not intend for Mr. Boots. So when I sent Convergence to Bob, and before I wrote Convergence, I asked Bob, would you be okay doing the voice of a talking dog? Because I thought he may think it's kind of hokey or something. It's like, I've always wanted to do a talking dog. So I'm like, great, put the book out. And then he contacts me and says, by the way, if you ever want to do a talking cat, I have the perfect voice for it. And a lot of people out there are too young, but there was an actor back in like the 50s and 60s, Jimmy Durante. And he had this, the song Frosty the Snowman?
Yeah.
He's the old guy in Frosty. So Frosty the Snowman.
Oh, okay.
That is one of the voices that Bob puts into Mr. Boots. 100% Bob. in book 5, there's a talking squirrel. 100% Bob. Skippy, 100% Bob. Joe, 100% Bob. I did not give R.C. Bray any notes at all on what the characters sound like, unless I wrote it in the text that Joe.
They have this accent,
etc. But I did not write Skippy, and in my mind, I was like, Skippy is Fraser Crane from the show Cheers, right? With an English accent, so he's even more insufferably arrogant. And Bob just like picked up on it instantly, and he knew. No, Bob and I are roughly, he's like 10 years younger than me or 13 years younger than me, but we're both from New England. We both have the same cultural references. He's a Giants fan, not a Patriots fan, but I forgive him for that.
Yeah.
But it's great because we have the same cultural references, the same background, and
just eating fluffernutters up there.
Oh yeah, yes, yeah.
I actually
I have so many people who are like, they're like on Facebook, like, oh my God, I saw this in the grocery store. Fluff is a real thing. I'm like, dude,
I knew about fluff, but I have seen fluffernutters in my local stores popping up, and I'm like, I was like, oh my God, I got to show people.
there's a fluffernutter beer. Ooh. And I think Dunkin' Donuts has a fluffernutter iced coffee or something like that. So
I wonder if that's a stout. Fluffernutter?
I haven't tried it. It's not a local beer here, so I can't get it. But I've seen people on Facebook, sending me photos of it. So.
Oh my gosh, yeah, they are crazy. Like, did you expect to have such a rabid fandom around your characters?
No, and that, thank you for saying that, because people are like, you have all these fans. I'm like, no, I don't have fans. My books have fans and my characters have fans. And like, I've been to maybe half a dozen conventions, including Dragon Con. And like, I'm there at a convention and one person might have heard of me. That's it.
Wow.
Yeah. I was at a convention in, I think, Winston-Salem or Charlotte, something like that, with Michael Mamet. And John Scalzi's there. And I'm going to do a panel with John Scalzi. And John's standing outside the door, just kind of checking his phone, and people are walking by, and I'm like, oh my God, don't you realize this is John fucking Scalzi? I mean, you're just walking by this guy. And he's like, yeah, unless people are, fans of my books, etc., they don't recognize me. I'm like,
well,
oh my God.
Yeah. And I made a video, I don't know, maybe over a year ago. Yeah. And it was like, why are authors not rock stars? Because really, I mean, even the biggest, what's the lady who did the Fourth Wing and Rebecca Yarros, her book sold what, like 2 million copies in a year or something insane like that. And I bet outside of like Los Angeles and New York City and the in those certain districts, she could probably walk through most places and people wouldn't even know who she was, unless you're like Stephen King or I guess Rowling, JK, those two, maybe someone else could sneak in there, but but the people who do know you, they love you.
Oh, good.
Let's see.
I see a message here from John H. Stephenson IV, explaining how magic works is only filler unless you have a reason for it. Yes, I'm not going to info dump about magic unless it's something where Kaz tries something and this is the reason it didn't work. I'm not just going to put magic rules out there unless they advance the story. So, is there a chance? Oh, no, the book series are separated. I mean, I may do like I did for one of the books, I did a promo where it's Skippy talking to Duke. No crossovers. No, not. Although my work does want me to write one more in the Ascendant series, and I don't have time to write it. It's what it comes down to. So my schedule is full through basically the end of 28 at this point. So yeah.
Yeah. Well, I don't know. I forget which book. It might have been book 4 that had like during like at the very end, like the bloopers or intro.
Yes.
And it was a Skippy kind of. I'm like, he's here. But I do love that you give homage to yourself and to some other characters. Like at one point you say breaking it down Barney style, and I'm like, he said the thing.
I didn't make that up. That's an expression that's been in the U.S. military for.
I didn't know that until I read your books, and then I was like, and then I looked it up. And I'm like, oh yeah, that's a thing.
Yeah,
breaking down Barney style.
I had a great moment where a fan who worked at the Pentagon, active duty military, he was doing a briefing to some general or something like that. And, the general asked a bunch of questions and he said, sir, I think we're bishipping this, which means making it the most complicated possible thing you can think of, even though later you couldn't figure out a simple way to do it. So bishipping, at least at one point, was like a thing in the Pentagon. It was a saying in the U.S. military. So I'm like, oh my God. So yeah. How did R.C. Bray first get involved narrating your books? Podium Audio contacted me and said that they didn't want any money up front, which was great. They'd split the revenue and they would get R.C. Bray to narrate it. And I'm like, okay, R.C. Bray did The Martian, the best-selling at the time, the best-selling audiobook of all time. And still the best version is the R.C. Bray version. And I'm like, oh my God, this guy's amazing. And I just assumed Podium was like, yeah, we're going to offer R.C. Bray, but doesn't mean R.C. Bray is going to say yes. And it doesn't mean they have him signed to it. But I'm like, they know R.C. Bray. So, wow, I get him a shot. And we signed the contract, and Bob did the book. And like I said, I didn't give him any guidance on voices. I didn't give him any guidance on voices for Convergence, other than, like I said, what I write into the book. If I say the person's voice is like this, or their speaking cadence is slow or fast or whatever, I don't give him any guidance. He reads the books. He figures out who the character is. And like I said, in the case of Mr. Boots, he had this grumpy cat voice he'd wanted to do for years. And I'm like, oh, Bob wants to do a voice. You have to do it. You have to write it. So, yeah.
So would you say that you and RC have become friends over the years?
Oh,
I
well, he's been to our house here in Vermont.
Well,
and
that's nice.
If anybody in the Bray family is listening, you are totally welcome back. We got a new swim pad. We now have 2 jet skis. So, yeah. His wife, Hope, and their kids were out on a swim pad, one of these floating styrofoam pads. And Hope was actually able to stand up in the thing. And I fell on my ass. But since then, they have a pond in their backyard in Connecticut, and they have a slip and slide, and they have a splash pad in their pond because they love the one we had here. So anyway, yeah.
Thief.
Yeah, Bob, super, super nice guy, great family man, a hockey coach of unknown talent. I see him, coaching hockey on Facebook, and I'm like, I don't know if he's any good or not, but I know he's got a lot of enthusiasm and he puts a lot of effort into it. So good for that. Yeah. So I actually received a congressional nomination to go to the Air Force Academy. Now, this is back in the late 70s. And at the time, with airline deregulation, airlines like People's Express and all that were poaching pilots and navigators from the U.S. Air Force. And they were bleeding pilots and navigators. So that's what they wanted to backfill from the Air Force Academy. And I took my physical and passed the physical, running push-ups and all that stuff. And then they gave me this color blindness test. I totally failed.
Oh.
Red-green color blindness. And landing signal indication lights when you're approaching an airport are red and green.
Oh, of course they are.
They couldn't have picked blue and yellow. They had to pick red and green. So, and then it was like, well, you also can't work as a mechanic on aircraft because you have color-coded wiring. Well, I said, if anybody asks, I have to defuse a bomb, and they say, cut the blue wire, not the purple wire, I'm fucked. grab the cat and go. So, yeah, that was my chance for the U.S. military. I'm like, I can't do this. I can't do that. The Army said I couldn't even read maps because those are color-coded. So I'm like,
my gosh.
what am I going to be, a cook? I don't know how to cook. So that was it. But I worked for defense contractors, starting with actually working on the space shuttle program when I got to high school. Nice. And then I worked on my wife's rocket company. I worked on a lot of the weapons we're now using in Ukraine. I worked on the development of them, the Advanced Patriot, the Javelin, Stinger, all that. So my wife worked on Trident nuclear missile, which they've not used, thankfully. So yeah, but yeah, I've always worked with veterans who now work in the industry, and then active duty military who are our customers and our liaisons, and just picked it up from them. I mean, even like in the Boy Scouts, when I was in the Boy Scouts, a lot of the adult leaders were veterans. I'd hear them talk and just picked it up from there. My father was in the Army. My brother was in the National Guard. My uncle was in the Navy. My other uncle was in the Navy. Yeah, so I come from a background like that. But unfortunately, I got the color blindness.
Well, you got the smooth gray hair. Mine's just now starting to come in all over the place.
Yeah, my wife is like, "Oh, your hair looks so distinguished," and I'm like, Thank you for using that word.
Distinguished. Yeah, that's what my wife says too. You're looking distinguished.
My wife is 8 years older than me. No gray hair.
Ah.
Doesn't dye her hair. Yeah.
Ooh, lucky.
My hair before was blonde. So it's not like it turned from like black to gray. It was always kind of like a sandy blonde. So it's not that much different. Although when I don't get a haircut for a while, it turns really gray. When it gets cut, it's a little darker. So yeah.
But that is amazing. I think we are getting to about that time. But I have had a blast talking all things writing, X-Force, Convergence. Again, I will say, guys, if you haven't started this series, start it now. You're gonna marathon it. Book 5 is the best book. If you know my channel, you know I don't play games. I will tell you the truth. Book 5, the most emotional book yet.
Thank you. Now, I took a big risk switching genres, and it has paid off. People who are like X-Force fans at least tried it. And then I have people who went straight into Convergence who are like, oh, he also writes a sci-fi. I'm like, why? Indeed, I do.
But thank you, everybody, for tuning in with us. No liquor in this one, but I will raise a glass, Greg. And everybody go out and get it. Go get X-Force. Support Craig because he is one of the best writers going today.
Thank you. And this has been a great interview, by the way.
Hey, you've been a great interviewee. Let me tell you.
Some of the interviews I have are so awkward where it's just silence. I'll say something and it's silence, and then I'll read a couple of notes and like, okay, you're an engaging, charismatic interviewer. Thank you.
Well, thank you so much. I could be here for another hour, but I'm thinking some people might be wanting to go to sleep, but I could stay up all night, man.
Yes. So, and I'm sorry about the destruction I've caused to Ohio in my books, including Homefront, where I almost nuked Dayton. So, yeah, I have nothing to do with Dayton. It was just that's where Wright Patterson Air Force Base is. So, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, Dayton will be all right, but I am thrilled that Ohio got some love, man. It's been too long in all these books. I've never seen it, and now we're on the map.
Good. My brother's oldest daughter is starting her second year at Ohio State. So at some point we're going to go visit the Ohio State University. Like there's more than one they have to make.
Hey, OHIO, you'll be hearing that a lot.
Yes. Oh my God, the first game they went to, Ohio State national champions, the first football game they went to because their daughter got tickets, they lost. Like, how the hell? It's the only game they lost all year, and it was the first game that they go to at Ohio State.
That would be my luck. That would be my luck, man. Oh my gosh.
Yeah. Oh, and I want to thank Shannon and Megan from Podium in Los Angeles who are working late to make this happen and helping me through technical glitches here and there. So thanks to the two of you for working late for this ridiculous interview. So yeah.
Smoothest stream for me.
Yes. Yeah, there wasn't any glitches or anything like that. Usually it freezes here and there, but yeah.
Yeah. So. I kept my hands away from having to do my own stuff. So great. And I would love to interview you again. Next time you're doing something, just call me up and I'll be on.
I've got X-Force 19 coming out in December.
Oh, cannot wait for that one.
Well, we have a big marketing campaign going on for that. I think it'll start in September. Yeah. So the second to the last X-Force book. And then book 20 won't be coming out till the fall of 26. So there's going to be a bit of a wait. So, yeah.
Hey, that's all right if we get a Convergence in the middle.
Oh, yeah. The Convergence will be, I'm going to write Convergence book 6. Yeah. And then I think Convergence book 6, then X-Force 20, and then Convergence 7. then the Scarandum prequel, and then Convergence 8. So yeah, I got to check my spreadsheet. It's all in a spreadsheet.
Always staying busy, Craig, man. Thank you for the interview, and thank you for everybody staying up late watching this and watching on the replay. Make sure you like and subscribe to Podium Entertainment.
Yes, thank you. Thank you, JR.
Thank you, Craig.